What is a data structure? I want you to think of a data structure as a way in which you organize information. We have different types of information that we organize in memory. Whenever you're building an application or any software, you always have to deal with memory at some point to store your information, to access the information, all of these things. So which means that we need different ways to access this information and to store this information. And because there are different types of information that we always deal with, for example, you can be dealing with a list of fruits, with a list of people, a list of objects. There are all types of information that you always deal with whenever you're building an application. You need an efficient way to store this information, you need an efficient way to access this information, and you need an efficient way to try and scale all of these things. That is where optimization comes in. Whenever you're talking about data structures and memory, optimization is a key thing that you always have to think about. When you think about optimization, we optimize for a few things. First, we optimize for speed. We also optimize for memory, in this case, storage. And we also optimize for access to all this information. We optimize for a lot of things. Now, when you talk about optimizing for speed, there's a few things you think about here. The time it takes to make a specific request. I want you to think about whenever you go on Google and you're trying to search for something, it takes a split second before you get your results back. That means that they've optimized really well for time. Apart from optimizing for time, you need to optimize for memory. When you think about memory, here we think about storage. You need a way to optimize for storage. So when it comes to time, you want to optimize for the least amount of time possible. And when you're optimizing for storage, you want to optimize for the least amount of space. You need a very small amount of space to store that information that you want to store. The last thing is we talked about access. Access goes to speed as well. The other thing I should mention here is you need to optimize for scale. Optimizing for scale is also important because this is how your applications grow. I want you to think about a time you're building an application and your application only has 10 users. You need to build this application and think about the way you store information to a point whereby it can be to handle 100 users, to a point where it can also handle 10K users and moving forward. You need to be able to scale this. And the way you store information does dictate how you're going to scale from 10 people all the way to the point when you get to 10,000 people. This is an important way to think about data structures. Data structures dictate a lot about how an application is going to scale, how users are going to have experience in the way they access that information. All of this is something that you have to understand. Now, there are different types of data structures that you always have to work with. The most obvious data structure that you always work with is a list. You have a list data structure. This is where you can have, for example, a list of numbers. A list of numbers would look like this. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. This is an example of a data structure. This is a list. Apart from a list data structure, you can have what we refer to as a stack. In there, you can also have a queue data structure.